tribal members, like, there's a lot of us that are married into the tribe, and then if we bring something up to the tribe, we are like low on the totem pole, and what we say means nothing. How would you guys go about changing that so we're heard as a voice with the tribe to help to make things better for all of us that live in the community?
Very good point, actually. My fiance is not a tribal member. My son is enrolled in the West Bank, British Columbia, not enrolled down here, so that makes him a descendant down here. She's a member of a tribal family. She feels that she has the right to input. This is her community too. Most recently, she was a volunteer for one of the tribal programs and was making a difference and was very well received. And I think, to answer your question briefly, I think listening to everyone, including people that may not be enrolled but are members of the tribal family, is important and critical if we're going to strengthen our communities. Everybody has, a lot of people have very good ideas. They just need to be heard and listened to and followed up on. Thank you.
The way I feel about people, if they're concerned about this tribe, my people, anybody has a right to tell me. I don't care if you're Korean, you can tell me. Because if it's genuine, then I'll listen. But if you're just blowing smoke, you know, you got my attention for 10 seconds. You know, I want people that will give input for my people, the betterment of their lives, of their well-being, and for them. Their children, their mothers, their fathers, their aunts, their uncles, their cousins, their friends, and our veterans.
My door-to-door campaigning I've been doing, I've run into a couple of people who weren't tribal members, and they were not ready to take my letter and talk to me, but I told them, go ahead and take my letter. You know, you're living within our boundaries of the reservation, so we need to hear your concerns too. You know, we need to fix something, you know. Because everybody can see something that's wrong, and even the non-tribal members, I think they should be listened to as well.
We definitely need to strengthen our relationship with our non-tribal counterparts. You know, some of the successes that we have had in the past as a tribe, and some of the efforts that we've done, we've had to have a lot of help, and we've turned to our non-tribal community, and they've, you know, their hearts and their minds that they have, you know, they've really helped us out a lot, and so I think, you know, and it's, you know, these type of individuals that step forward that want to help us, they're, you know, you can't measure that. You know, they have we need to coexist. You know, we live on this Mother Earth. We live in, you know, in our neighborhood here. We have friends. We have family friends that are non-tribals. We need to find a way to coexist with each other. So you know, strengthening those relationships are only going to help each and every one of us out. You know, I think it's you know, it's just neat how everything is kind of evolving, and we've seen the non-tribal community step up and really help us out in these critical times, And I think, you know, that's probably gonna happen again, so we do need to strengthen those relationships. Thank you.
I'm not even sure if we have a dress code for our council or not, but from what I've noticed, I'm gonna say no. So I'm wondering, if there is one, are we gonna start making people adhere to it? And if there isn't one, can we start getting one enforced and start making sure that our council is a good representation of the people, dressed appropriately, especially at our meetings?
Appearance is important. If you're meeting with important dignitaries, that kind of thing, you probably should dress appropriately. If you're going to be in council chambers, I would imagine it's important to be dressed appropriately.
I want to make sure that I want to enforce myself. I like to force myself on people. I would enforce whatever I say. Whatever I say, I stand behind it. And it doesn't matter what it is. And I expect everybody to do the same thing. I don't want anybody telling me, or blowing smoke. I don't want smoke screens. I don't want to put up smoke screens. I won't allow smoke screens. If you're gonna give me a joke or a smoke screen, then go outside. As my dad used to tell me, if that's the way you're gonna talk, go outside. If that's the way you're gonna be, go outside. He used to tell me that all the time because I was so obnoxious. Because he would, you know, like my dad was obnoxious. But anything I say, I mean it. Anything, if you tell me something, you better mean it or don't talk to me. You can talk to anybody else in the room, anybody. You're allowed to talk. Nobody's supposed to shut up. But if you want to talk to me, you better mean what you say, because I mean everything I say. That's all I can say.
Yes, I think you need to dress appropriately for every function you go to. And mannerism, I think, is very important to how you present yourself. So, it is a good thought.
Sorry, I keep getting shot. Yes, appearance is really key. I struggled with this one though, because in representation, what do you want to represent? You know, you can come in with a ribbon shirt, you know, and that's the appearance that you're giving. You're traditional, you're a traditional man. You know, you come in with a suit, and then there's a perception there that you're always giving off. So I struggle with the appearances, and I try not to be too critical of people, because some people, that come on council, they want to be genuine. They don't want to, they don't want to be fake. They don't want to be out of their element. So there is some of that going on, but as far as when you're out representing yourself out there in Indian country and stuff, I think it's important that you know, that you dress appropriately. You know, I was just wondering about the, you know, when we see these dignitaries and stuff, what they think, you know, when they see, you know, someone come in and they maybe they have a suit on, and they're like, well, you know, you know, they have a little bit more respect for you for some reason, you know. But on the other hand, too, when you come in with a ribbon shirt on, they have a different meaning for you. They have you know, that they know that they're being approached by a traditional man. So it's kind of a blend, you know. When you get in there, it's kind of why I wear a piece, you know, instead of a tie. I try to wear this kind of stuff because it's, you know, there's some kind of, there's native representation in that too. So, but I think, you know, when we're in council chambers, you know, I don't like to judge people. They're there to make a decision. They're doing a good job, you know, and I think everybody has their own style, and they're representing their people the best they can, you know, you know, I think the only thing I don't like is when we have a dignitary come in and you know, that we want them to take us seriously. We want them to, you know, to know that we mean business. But if we came in there, you know, with a gym short on or something like that, it's like, you know, I don't gotta take this guy seriously. He's not even, you know, he's just a regular Joe Schmo. So I think, you know, appearance is part of it, but I don't want to, you know, I'd hate to have that kind of enforcement on people, because I want people to, you know, to make their own personal judgment and stuff too. So, and people look good in different ways, you know, so how they look comfortable. So, thank you.
Questions?
Do we need a new ethics code?
Update it, regulate it.
Ethics code.
In regards to your question, do we need the ethics code? I think it needs to be reviewed, and I think what's there needs to be enforced. Pretty much what I see on that matter.
Can I add a part to the question? Should CBC be the one, council people, should they be the one enforcing that ethics code?
Should the council people be enforcing their own ethics code? You know, my concern is integrity in the enforcement. And so therefore, it might be better off to have an independent body that has no affiliation, political or monetary or otherwise. So independent judgment would be used without fear of repercussion or retaliation or favor could be curried. So in response to that, I would think perhaps an objective third party might be better off. I don't want to use the word special prosecutor, but definitely someone that could take an objective look.
Thank you.
Colonel Pierce.
When I was 4 years old, I got mad. And my grandmother held me on her lap. And she said, "Don't be mad, Lorna, don't be mad. It's not good for you to be mad. You have to be nice." And when I was growing up, after I was 21, I always had this little voice in the back of my head, be nice, be nice. And then for me, the ethics code is a joke. Because if these people, our leaders, me, I'm going to be, hopefully, your leader. For me not to have any kind of ethics or morals, why should I represent you? because somebody doesn't like what I'm gonna do, I can't tell. I mean, there are 13 people I'll be working with. It won't just be me. I have to work with 13 other people, 13 other personalities. That's what I told Cena when he was running for council. He got on. I said, Cena, watch it. You've got 13 people you got to work with. That's what I told Benny. I told Ferdinand that. And look at where it got him. But I cannot believe our leaders misrepresent themselves so bad that they have to make a stronger ethics code. It just boggles my mind. And that we had leaders, and we have leaders, or we had leaders in 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, in 2000. It just makes me mad to think that we have to make a stronger ethics code for our leaders. And our leaders should be brought to the table, all of them. Every one of them. Anybody who hasn't read the ethics code should be brought to the table. But I'm trying to keep that little voice in the back of my head, be nice, to be quiet so I can be quiet. Thank you.
I don't know if we need a new ethics code or reviewed. I think we just need to put some people who are in there, put some people who are honest in there, and who knows what's right and what's wrong. And I think that's what's wrong with the world today. Some people know what's right, they know what's wrong, but they find a little loophole for something, and that's just what gets everything crazy.
Definitely need to change the ethics code. Definitely need to change it. But how do we change that? Not sure how to go about that. We have, over the course of my 2 years, there was a lot of stuff that people were bringing ethics charges for, and some stuff was kind of out there, and I think they were just trying to, I hate saying that, but it was like a political agenda. And so you got to watch out for those kind of things. People just want to get you out. They'll find any little thing to try to get ethics on you so that they can get in that position of yours. But on that note, ethics, our ethics code right now, council governs that. I don't like that, because you're judgmenting of your peers, and that I don't think that works. I think an elder committee, if we had a really strong elder committee, made up of some really strong cultural elders that have kind of been, that have a sense of what's going on, and can make a fairly good judgment. I think we can refer to that. Once the ethics, in our current system, what the ethics charges are pronounced to be unethical, we do give it over to a third party. But to get there is quite a feat. And so, yeah, I think the criteria for it needs to be fixed. Those are definitely changes that we need to do in our own tribal government. And I think some of that stuff needs to be grassroots, the people from the, I think a private committee that got support for it and start pushing for it, I think that would really change it. They've done it for other referendum votes. I think they could do it for that, to strengthen that. But yeah, I think those are changes that are changes to our government and constitution, all that stuff. So I think it's a big feat to do it, to find out how it's all going to work and be successful. But I think it's worth a try, and I look forward to Sherry heading that committee.
I'll volunteer to sit on it after you get it formed.
Questions?
I got one more, if you don't have it.
This is another two-part question. I'm very biased on this subject, so I'll try to ask this in the right way. Do we need corporations? And should council be sitting on those corporations? And I know you are, Steen, I'm not taking it out on you. There's been other council in the past that have. I just feel very strongly that it's not necessary. But number one, do we need corporations? Number two, should council be sitting on the boards of those corporations as they sit now?
Sherry, I think you'll probably be the new moderator of Meet the Press here pretty soon. You're asking some pretty good questions. First part of that, do we need corporations? We need some sort of economic development arm. I don't know if it needs to be in the form it currently is. The second part of it is, I know we need an economic development arm. We need to be able to create, we need to have economic development. I have a whole part of that in my letter that I sent out to the Omak district voters. I'm not sure that corporations are the only way to create economic development and create revenue. I've got other ideas as well. The second part of your question, should council sit on corporations? The direct answer is absolutely not. There was a Harvard study done, it's almost 2 decades old now, that talks about Indian tribes and having the councils sit on those boards, and there's too much influence, too much from within. The dynamics have changed on that. You lose objectivity, etc. So, no, I don't think the council should sit on those boards.
Thank you.
Another question for me. We don't need a corporation. We don't need to be paying salaries of people that are just taking the money and not doing anything, making bad judgments. I was against the corporation that's here when it started. And council, if they're supposed to be our tribal leaders, the reason they set it up is to let go of the day-to-day operations of taking care of the businesses. That's the reason they set it up. And the council said, we're gonna let them have the day-to-day operations. We're just gonna be here. They have to report to us. They have to give us the money. That's what they told us when they set it up. And over the years, that corporation spent more money, didn't give anything back, spent more money, taking more money out of our general fund. They had their own budgets, but they kept coming to the tribe and the council. I need this for this department. I don't need a corporation. I don't want a corporation. And I said that often enough. My family's sick of hearing it. My father told me, if you can't get rid of them, Lana, you have to work with them. Make them fit into your life. Work with them. I tried. And I still see what they're doing. They're not doing good. They're not benefiting our tribe. Because of this, when they changed over the salaries, they get paid whether they're there or not. They get paid every month the same amount, whether they're in that office or not. They can say, oh, I'm working from home, but they might be out at Coeur d'Alene, or Las Vegas, or Reno, or somewhere, for all I know, Atlantic City. So I don't think we need a corporation. That's my personal opinion. And no council person should be anywhere near that board. And when they're voted off the council, what do? Go to the CTEC boards, whatever. And they run there. I know that George, Wendell George went there, Eddie Palmentier went there. So you tell me how much money they made us when they're in council or when they're on that board.
Thank you.
No, I don't think we need a corporation. We just need a group of people with some good ideas and how to run our businesses. And no, I don't think a councilman should be on that position because just a big conflict of interest and, you know, I'm sorry, my mind went kind of had something else there.
Well, we definitely need a corporation. For example, on this, the timber sale that we're doing with the tribe, you can't sell it you can't sell it to yourself. You can't sell it to your own tribe. So you got to sell it to somebody. So you sell it to the our CFED corporation. But and the corporation right now, the corporation and tribe has traditionally had a really negative impact with each other. The corporation and the tribe have a history of fighting against each other for resources, fighting with each other for who should take over a project, whatnot. And what we're trying to change is that we need to recognize that our corporation employs the majority of our tribe members here, through the gaming, and then now it's going to be, they're going to be heading over they're going to be a direct service for the mill, and any other business that we do, our stores, those are all under the corporation. They have a huge employment arm. They're the huge employment arm for us as a tribe. We definitely need corporations. And when they expand new businesses, they can't, if they come under the tribe, they can come as a tribal government operation. But when they do, they usually have, when we have a business that becomes a tribal operation, usually have a supervisor, a manager, a director, and then pretty soon you have all this top-heavy, government-based business, and usually those government-based businesses that have a high overhead, have a lot of people, are not very successful. So it's very important that you keep business, and not business trying, not your government trying to operate a business. Now, do we need council on the boards? I don't like having council on the boards. I'm with Sherry on that. You're piercing the corporate veil to, and that separation of power. But I think right now, I am currently on the CFED board, and I think, when I got asked to sit on that board, the biggest thing that happens is, with your corporations, is they need a lot of assistance. They need a lot of tribal assistance. For example, with the Atlas lease, they need to work together as a team. The tribe and that corporation need to work together as a team. And when they put us on there for example, for myself, I was able to walk from corporation to the tribe, get information, go back from the tribe to the corporation, and share that information. And we were able to get everybody on board to get that engine moving. And eventually we got the lease moved. And it was because of that working relationship between the board and the corporation. Another example is our compact. This is what we're going to be working on the next 2 years. The gaming absolutely needs to redo their compact. Can our corporation redo our compact? No, they can't. The government has to redo their compact. Do we have the resources as a government to do our compact? Not without our corporation. So it's very delicate that we manage this relationship between the corporate and the board. And I think if those relationships are really strong, you don't need to have a councilman on there. I think, right now, because we're moving so fast trying to get stuff done in that communication process, it's a lot easier to have a councilman on there. But I think, once we get some of those things hashed out, I would love to have just the corporation by itself, and getting that communication process set up between the corporation and the council. I think that would really be a driving force to help us along. But as far as, we do want that separation of power. We need to work towards that. And, but there's a lot of stuff that we need to work together on, and I don't know how else to work on that. And we do have the option to not be on the board, come down and influence it. And that's some of the other things that we need to look into. So I think it's a good question, Sherry. I know it was kind of pointed at me a little bit, so I understand.
No, he's not the only one running.
Yeah, so thank you, Sherry.
Questions?
Do you guys think there should be that many councilmen for our tribe? That we have 14, shouldn't it be less?
I think that's up to the membership, actually, for that to be handled.
I've been talking to him, and over the years, let's say about 10 years, and the people believe that the council should be cut in half. 2 from Inchwim, 2 from Nispelum, 2 from Omak, and 1 from Keller. 2 from Keller, and 1 chairman. So that's 9. So, and the chairman should be voted res-wide. 1 person wants to be chairman. Everybody in every district should be able to vote for that person. And I believe that'll work, because there'll be 8 councilmen plus 1 chairman. But I talked to a gentleman last evening who told me he wanted 1 from every district and 1 person for chairman, that a res-wide vote, I believe. So I believe that we should have 9 people. 2 from every district, and 1 chairman. That's the way I believe. And I think it should be a referendum vote for the people. Off the reservation, on the reservation, everybody should vote for this. And I believe a reservation-wide voting should be on a referendum also for everybody.
Money-wise, I think we need less councilmen, but then on the other hand, I think councilmen need to be out there, doing their business trips, and some people need to stay back home and vote on things. And I think that'd be kind of hard with us councilmen, because you need more people staying home to take care of business, so it's kind of half and half between.
I'm with Ricard on this. I think, it's up to the people to decide if they want to have faith in just 7 people or 8 people, however it is, and they want to have total faith in just 7 people to make decisions for the whole tribe. I think that's up to the people to decide. When I first before I got on council, I was like, cut those council in half. We don't need them as much. You see the cities and councils, they work with a lot less. And after I got on, and I see the amount of work that has to be done, not only, protecting our sovereignty, but getting out there in a new country, lobbying for dollars, getting business development going. If we cut it down, you're going to see a real slowdown in production. So myself, I'd be really leery to cut it down, just because of how spread out we are right now. We get in there, we spread out, we give everybody objectives. There's a lot of ways that we can influence, so we spread out that risk to everybody, and everybody has their own little ways to help us out in those ventures. So I'd be really leery to do that. Although, before I got on, I was like, heck yeah, cut them in half. They don't do nothing. That's what I was saying too. But after you get in there and you start realizing that they're not only they're managing our system, but they're also trying to influence and do the state system and federal system, and the amount of work that it takes to do that, as well as making those personal connections to the community, and the other stuff that they do within the community. It's a tremendous amount of work. It's definitely a full-time job. I know they had talks about some of the things that we get frustrated with is this 2-year term. And the government set that up strategically so that your planning, your ties to the community is really close, and you have to be objective every year you have to work really close with the community, what their needs are. But what that form of government does, though, when you have an election every year, business gets done for the first half. The second half is all election. Business gets done for the first half, and the second half is all election. And long-term planning cannot happen in a 2-year term. Cannot happen. And I'm saying this to everybody because, you want to see long-term effects. What happens. Someone, like when these people get into council, they start pushing, some long-term objectives. Well, within a year and a half, now they're back in election mode. And if they get cut, their long-term objectives are done. And then you have to start over with the new crew. And then their objectives start again. And so, if there's anything that we can do, my wish long-term, I think, a 4-year term for council would create a little bit more stability. Because what happens is when we change, everybody below us change. Because if we get a whole new council in there and you don't trust the ED that was previously, you fire them, let them go, hire a whole new crew, and then the instability of our government just keeps happening over and over again, and it gets really crazy. So we're trying to stabilize that by having a plan backed by our administration and our programs, and then we're hoping that that'll create the stability for us. That plan and the strategic software that we're developing, we're hoping that'll create some stability. But I think 4-year terms for the council would definitely help out. I'm not going to push that for my term because people it's selfish, but there is ways to incorporate it. Maybe in 3 years you do it, in 2 years you do it, rather than just right now. And I think there's a lot of education on that, on the dynamics of our own government and how it fluctuates. And to me, I think the government set up purposely like that, and there is no stability in our government. Every year we're in election mode, and every year there's you know, it's an emergency to do something, And I think that's a lot of frustration that our people are seeing, so. Definitely, you know, if that's what the people want to do, they want to cut council, get involved, get your community involved, get a lot of input, get a grassroots movement going, and show the people how that, you know, lesser council is going to work, and then prove it to everybody here. And if it smooths out a lot of these problems, and you know, if you had less council, longer terms, maybe that might work. I don't know. But you know, I definitely would, you know, support that if, you know, you had a really good, strong grassroots movement to do. Thank you.